Hey everyone, welcome to another Teach Kevin Your Thing session. Today I have Brett who's going to teach me headless commerce with Shopify's Hydrogen. How you doing, Brett?
Good. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So before we start, I need you to introduce yourself. Tell us who Brett Little is, what you've been doing, and what you currently do, and any piece of information you'd like to share.
Sure. So my name is Brett Little. I'm a engineer, software engineer at Shopify. I've been here at Shopify for about a year and a half, and I'm on the Hydrogen team. I've been through multiple iterations of Hydrogen, like the very first release that we were a part of that had RSC embedded in it, down to the current release of Hydrogen, which is more built on top of Remix.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's me.
Awesome stuff. So, just to be complete, for anyone who don't know what Shopify is or who Shopify is, could you just tell us what's Shopify? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Shopify is a platform where you can set up an online e-commerce store really, really easily. And for a lot of people that set up an online e-commerce store, they don't necessarily care about coding at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just mostly care about getting products into a system, getting a site up as quick as possible, and selling whatever it is they're trying to sell. And
Mm-hmm.
that works great for a huge majority of people all around the world selling stuff online.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to learn to code almost at all
Mm-hmm.
to like sell on Shopify. There's thousands of templates out there. There's tons of different tools and things available for you just to build and release a site without coding at all.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we've found that a lot of our larger merchants want a little bit more control over exactly what the site looks like, how it behaves, how it integrates with third parties. And so, like, we released Hydrogen as a framework, a front end framework for people to very quickly and easily build a site entirely custom with their own code, built upon the storefront API that Shopify provides for you to pull data in and out of the system.
Ooh, thank you so much. I really like that. So, for Shopify, it lets you build your own e-commerce store, but for developers, right? People that really want to have their own custom setup and everything. That's the whole idea of hydrogen. So yes, so that's what really comprises of a headless commerce um solution, right? And how does hydrogen really make that whole experience great?
That's a great question, and honestly, headless is like a weird word.
Yeah.
It's like headless, like why do
Oh,
I want something without a head?
yes.
It's
We
it,
just have our terms, right? Everything we have serverless, so no server, but of course there's a server. So
well, it's like, well, there's a server
yeah,
somewhere, but
yes,
server.
yeah.
So the terms are kind of weird, like headless, but
Hmm.
the whole idea of headless is like um, you're building the front end entirely custom, and you're just using an API
Okay.
with some sort of service behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And Hydrogen makes this easy because, like the storefront API, Shopify has it available. You can use it with any front end framework. You can use it with Next.js. We have a lot of merchants that are very successful with Next.js. You can use
Hmm.
it with Gatsby. You could use it with Vue. You could use it with like you could use it with whatever you want. And like Hydrogen isn't trying to take away from those options of whatever else you might, if your team really knows Vue really well, why would we say don't use Vue to build an e-commerce site? You can build a very
Hmm.
good e-commerce site using a variety of technologies. The point of Hydrogen more is like, some people come to us in Shopify and they're like, we don't know what to do. You tell us what to do. You tell us the opinions as far as where we should go and what we should build.
Hmm.
So inherently, the whole point of Hydrogen is it's an opinionated way of building commerce on top of the storefront API. Very opinionated
Okay.
because we want it to be easy and quick for somebody who maybe doesn't have a huge amount of front end experience, but they just want to get something going quick
Hmm.
and as fast as possible.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So it's you see, we are the one that have, so we give you the stuff on the API, right? And you don't have an opinion or preference for like the front end you want. This is our offering, right? This is hydrogen. We we have this UI kit, right? That you could build your and consume the storefront API with all the opinions we think that is best for like e-commerce. So that makes sense, right?
Yep. Yep,
Awesome.
exactly. And like and with those opinions, we want to provide some abstractions that make it easier, like because some things are just really obnoxious to build that are
Yeah.
actually kind of difficult to do correctly. For example, building a cart.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of just very tedious things that need to be done like
That's true.
right to build a good cart. And
Yeah.
most people don't really care about a lot of those particulars. They just want a cart as quick as possible.
Yes, they do.
Um, and so if we can provide some better abstractions to help you get started, that's really the goal of Hydrogen.
Mm.
Making the 0 to 100 with an e-commerce site that's headless,
Yeah.
as quick as painless as possible.
Yeah. Awesome. I like it. So let's talk about this a little bit. You did mention that Hydrogen moved to Remix currently. So I want to talk about it on two fronts. Like, what was Hydrogen built on before, and why was the move to Remix intentional? And also, you could maybe just touch on what is Remix for anyone that doesn't know what Remix is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think to answer that best, it's best to kind of understand a little bit of the history behind Hydrogen
Yeah.
from the very beginning. So when we first started working on Hydrogen, this is a few years ago now. This is like, I don't know, 2020, 2021. Like Shopify sees the web, e-commerce web, as a very, very dynamic experience.
Yeah.
So like a lot of front end frameworks that were more popular back in the time. So at least like, Gatsby, even Next.js to some extent as well, very much encouraged this, at least at the time, encouraged this idea of statically generating all of your content up front, like
Yeah.
this sort of Jamstack, statically generate everything at build time, and then host it all out on like a CDN, so it can be really, really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great for a lot of applications and a lot of websites. But for us and for e-commerce, we didn't feel very inspired when it comes to like static content. When we think of the very, very best commerce experiences, so like say you go to I don't know, an Amazon product page. When you actually load an Amazon product page, there's a ton of dynamic stuff going on an Amazon product page. There is stuff that is related to you, your user, like as far as like related products that maybe you would be
Yeah.
interested in. There are products that maybe are specific to your location, based upon maybe you're in Europe, maybe you're in North America, maybe you're in Asia, who knows. It's like the overall rendering of that page is going to be very, very, very different based upon a ton of input factors.
Yeah.
And if you're to like try to statically generate all of that up front, that becomes very, very difficult to do. So
Mm-hmm.
for Shopify, we think of the future of commerce on the web as extremely dynamic and very tailored experiences to the individual. And so we survey the ecosystem of what's going on, and we just don't see a front end framework that really has all the bells and whistles that we want,
Mm-hmm.
that can provide a dynamic experience. At the same time, we start talking to Meta and the Facebook React core team about RSC and kind of the future of React.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of determined, well, maybe we could start building out a framework on some of this new technology like RSC that can really have dynamic experiences at the forefront. And that's kind of the vision initially of Hydrogen. And so Hydrogen 1, the first release of Hydrogen,
Yeah.
was built on React server components. And it was really fundamentally, that was the vision of like, let's build really dynamic stuff that can be served at the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be very fast and very custom for whoever's actually going to be viewing this site, depending on who they are and where they're at.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I do know for commerce, like for the entire experience, especially like you mentioned on Amazon, there's a lot of personalization that have to go on. So even though Jamstack is appealing, it might not be the best use case for it because you still know that dynamic part of the page, right? And
Yep.
that makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, so I like
Well,
it. Hmm.
and in a lot of sites it doesn't though. Like, so we have a small business. My wife has a small business with
Hmm.
selling flowers.
Yeah.
We have a little flower farm, and like for ours, how much do we need a dynamic experience for the few
Right.
people that come up with small business? Nobody really cares
Hmm.
about the dynamicness of that. But like the bigger and more international that you get, the more
Yeah.
types of products that you're selling, like the dynamic sort of content that you can feed based upon the user can actually have a huge difference on your conversion rates and what you're selling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, so like everything, right? It depends on what you're doing, right? It depends on your size, depends on your use
Yeah.
case and what you need. So finally, before we get into the code, like I've been watching RemixConf, like I've literally been binging on RemixConf. I love the conference. Did you watch it or were you there in person?
I was going to be there,
Yeah.
but for a variety of personal reasons, it didn't work out, and I was kind of
Mm,
disappointed.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a great event. I watched a lot of it online,
Yeah,
and
really cool. Yeah, so my
yeah,
question, yeah, go ahead, please.
no, go ahead with your
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Sorry.
So my question is, right? Because I've seen all the awesome things that Remix could do. I saw a lot of applications from different companies and use cases. But for commerce, right? Like, what is the because of course Shopify acquired Remix, right? Like, what is so interesting from Shopify's perspective on Remix that is like, yo, we're going to make hydrogen, right? Be backed by Remix.
So that's a great question, and I think there's a number of parts to it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we launched Hydrogen One, we saw a number of things. Like when we launched it, there were a number of very large Shopify merchants
Yeah.
um, who launched on Hydrogen One, and kind of the process of helping some of these developer teams build on Hydrogen One, we just realized the developer experience wasn't where we wanted it to be.
Mm.
Um, the developer experience for us, like is really important. It's not like the UX is also incredibly important, more
Yes.
important, but the
Mm-hmm.
DX is also really important. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend anybody watching this, like if you're interested in lots of particulars of this, to check out Juan Pablo's talk
Okay.
from RemixConf. He specifically goes into some of the details as to the process of moving over to Remix from Hydrogen One.
Yeah.
But like a lot of it, it was just it's RSC itself has a huge amount of potential, but
Mm-hmm.
at the moment we determined that they're like it's just not quite ready. And so rather than putting our whole bet on RSC right now,
Mm-hmm.
we see Remix as a solid foundation for all those things that RSC doesn't quite have it yet. And Remix will adopt RSC down the road. I don't doubt it. This is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
once RSC becomes more stable, but at the
Okay.
moment it's just not stable, and there's a number of key problems and things that are very difficult to work around and deal with in
Mm-hmm.
RSC at the moment. And so moving to Remix gives us a solid foundation. Um, so a lot of the key things that we had issues with, one is performance. Hydrogen One's performance wasn't great on page transitions. You know, it would demo
Yeah.
great as far as like Lighthouse scores for your initial page load. Um, you know, you get excellent Lighthouse scores, but now you have your page loaded and you navigate to another page.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of times those page transitions would be rather slow. And the reason they were rather slow is because we had to go back to the server and re-render the entire React server or RSC React server component tree on the
Mm.
server because we didn't have any concept of nested routing. We're saying like, you know,
Yeah.
we navigate from one page to another. The header didn't change, the
Yeah.
footer didn't change, only render the content in between.
Okay.
Um, whereas Remix does have a concept of that. It has a concept of deep nested routing. And so page transitions are inherently a lot faster in
Mm-hmm.
Remix as well. So that's one example.
Yeah.
The foundation of Remix is a lot more, it's a lot more solid for merchants, I strongly believe, than what we had in Hydrogen 1.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. So yes, we've been talking a lot about it. I think it's time to like see Hydrogen and what you all have built. And the DX you've been talking about, I'm interested in seeing it. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna have my screen shared here. I just have a terminal open. And from here, we're going to initialize a new Hydrogen project from scratch. And we're kind of going to work through some of the particulars of how Hydrogen works and a little bit maybe on how Remix works as well.
Okay.
So to start a new Hydrogen project, come into a terminal and, hold on 1 second. Looks like my keyboard battery died.
Oh, no. That's fine.
No, I just plugged it in. So we're good.
That's good. What keyboard is that?
I forget the name of it. I'd have to
Yeah, that's. I don't think I've used an external keyboard for a while. I've always been the MacBook guy.
All right, good. So here we go. So let's just do npm create at Shopify/Hydrogen. I'm going to put an @latest on there.
Okay.
Just to make sure I get the latest. If you've never done this before, you probably don't need to have the latest on there. But if I just go enter, it should download. If you haven't done this before, it's also going to download the package, but or the CLI package. But inside here, we give you two options to pick from: a whole demo store. The whole demo store is like a lot more opinionated. It includes lots of styling. It includes a lot of pages and routes built out for you. Or we can start with just a hello world. Let's do that. Let's do the hello world.
Let's go simple.
And let's just do JavaScript, because there's probably some people on here that maybe haven't used TypeScript before, but you can pick either JavaScript or TypeScript. Let's do JavaScript, and let's do TKYT maybe here as the name of our project.
Yes, the TKYT store, selling TKYT matches. I like it.
That's right. And then let's install the dependencies automatically with npm, and just go enter. And it's going to take it a second because we're also doing an npm install.
Yeah, that's nice. I like the prompts on the CLI. Pretty basic, pretty simple, straight to the point. Shoot a template, a language, then where to create. And we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
npm is coming
Regular
back.
npm stuff.
npm's awake now.
I guess maybe I should have done this in advance. But,
that's totally fine.
All right, there we are. So now that it is installed, we're ready to run and build this thing. So I'm going to cd or change directory into TKYT, and I'm going to start up Visual Studio Code from here.
Okay.
Close that and prop this open. So there's a few things in here. Let's kind of talk through. Actually, first let's start it up and make sure it actually works, right?
Yes. Oh, I see some oxygen things. Yeah.
Oh. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we are. When I turned my keyboard off, I accidentally switched to Windows mode. But anyway, here we go. So now if we do npm run dev, this will start it up. And then let's make sure that it's actually running.
Mini Oxygen server. Interesting.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about Oxygen, but Oxygen is Shopify's Edge runtime that is meant to work really well with Hydrogen. And so you can think of like Cloudflare or Vercel or something where you just have some Edge workers. Kind of the cool thing about Oxygen, though, is it's free if you're already paying for any Hydrogen or Shopify plan. You get access to the runtime for free.
Cool.
So anyway, so here we are. We're on localhost port 3000, and this is what we see initially when we start up this new Hello World application. So this is our new storefront. Because we don't have any routes yet, it gives us this kind of helper route that says, okay, here's the process of how you can get started. But now let's actually go create some routes and see how that looks.
Yeah, let's do
So
that.
the way Remix works, so Hydrogen 2 is just built on top of Remix. And so there's a few things inside a Remix application. A Remix application will always have a root. Root is essentially the root of the page. So you can see inside here, there's a component that's going to be returning HTML, a head, a body, and some other things inside of it.
Mhm.
The outlet is where any like routes will actually get rendered. So H1 and P, this will be global for any route on the page.
Yeah.
And then this, whatever routes we add to the page is going to get put inside this outlet. So let's add a route. Let's go new file, or nope, let's go a new folder and let's call it routes. And inside here, let's add a new file and call it index.jsx. So the way a remix, so now we're getting an error over here because essentially we added this route, but there's nothing in this route. So it's expecting, it's saying the element type is invalid. There's this doesn't work. So it says you likely forgot to export your component from the file it's defined in. Because we haven't exported anything, we forgot that is the problem that it's saying. So if we export default,
Yes.
and just do that, now we come back over here. Hello world is there. So again, remember I mentioned back here, whatever's inside this page, this is all global for every route inside the application. Whereas this is the actual route that we built with the index of hello world. So you can think likely what you might be doing in here. Maybe you put a layout component inside here. Maybe this is where a header would be or a footer, that sort of thing. Whereas this is the actual content that is variable as you navigate through the page throughout that. So let's come inside here and let's actually modify this to actually query the storefront API and do some actual Shopify sorts of things. And the thing is here, one of the things that Shopify gives you with Hydrogen to make building an e-commerce storefront easier is we automatically give you a client for the storefront API inside the Remix application.
Okay.
The way Remix works, if you want to get data inside your page, because there's no data actually coming from any API in here, this is just static stuff.
Yeah.
You got to define a loader. So if I define a loader, doing this, exporting an async function called loader. And inside here, I can return whatever data that I want.
Okay.
Okay. So what's going on here? Let's kind of talk through what's happening here. The loader is only ever running on the server.
Got it.
Whereas what is exported here is an actual React component, which will render on the server-side rendering, but then it'll also render in the client as well.
Okay.
So whatever data we return out of the loader is only ever going to happen on the server. So like I could maybe even I could do some sort of file IO and read from like some files on the server, but whatever I return out of this JSON function, out of this loader, is now going to be available inside our client-side component.
Okay.
With this hook, use loader data. Now, if I change this to just render that message, say hello world from server, hello world from server. And like if I do a console log inside here, hi from server, we'll see that hi from server down here in the logs.
Yeah.
But if we pull up the console inside here, that's never going to show up.
Interesting.
So they're doing some funky, kind of interesting stuff in Remix where they're reading this file and they're splitting it out and taking some of the code in this file, building a client-side bundle from some of it, whereas other parts of this code never goes to the client at all.
Interesting. So the JSON bits you're importing from Remix Oxygen, what is it really?
So this is the way Remix works. So this JSON sort of function will always be imported from the runtime that you're deployed to. So there is a separate Remix runtime for Cloudflare. There's a separate Remix runtime for Vercel. There's a separate Remix runtime for Node. And the point is, the way that you might be sending data from the server is somewhat dependent upon the platform that you're deployed to. Because again, this is all running in the server. The platform that you're on is going to be somewhat unique with the way it does things. Because you can also set headers on this. Like inside here, I can say headers and like do cache control or something like that on here. Well, the way you do headers is a little bit different on Vercel versus on Cloudflare. And so this particular function is just imported from the platform you're deployed to. And because we're deploying to Oxygen, we're importing from the Oxygen package.
Yeah, but it could fall back to like locally because now I think we're still in Node, right? So yeah.
So we're actually running from, so if we come to package.json, when we run dev, that's not package.json, it's right here. We're running mini Oxygen, which is like a fake version of Oxygen that's running locally, which underneath the hood, it might be using Node, but all that's kind of abstracted away from you so that it feels like it's an Oxygen environment.
Good, got it. Because I was just kind of wrap my head around that. Yeah, that makes sense. We could continue.
Yep. Okay, so let's come back here. So right now, again, we're still not really doing anything with Shopify yet. Yes. This is all Remix sort of stuff. Let's actually add some Shopify magic inside here. To start off, let's define a query. So working with the Storefront API, which is the Shopify Storefront API, it is a GraphQL API. So we need to define a GraphQL query. And I'm just going to paste this in here. This is a query where we're going to pull down all of our products. When I say all, actually, let's say just the first 10 products. This could be a variable that we pass into the query. We could paginate through them if we wanted to. But inside here, we're going to get the title, the ID. Maybe, we could even have like the description inside here of the products. We can put all sorts of different things inside here. But let's just get the title, description, the ID, and the handle. And we can talk through what each of those are once we actually pull it. So we've defined this query. Let's actually make a query with that. So what Hydrogen provides with Remix is a helper on the context. So the context, there's this argument that's passed into every loader with Remix, and there's this context object. We have injected on the context object a storefront object, which has a query method on it. So if we just do that query and pass in the all products query, we can await it. And that should pull down all the products from our particular storefront. So if we console and log products, we can verify that that's what happened. And there they are. So if I pull this up a little bit, we can see here all these different products, these snowboards that are on the storefront that I have this configured with. Configuring another storefront is as simple as coming to this .env file and updating the storefront API token and domain to be a separate storefront for whatever yours is. This is just our sample one. But there are all those products. So now that we have those products, we can just update our JSON. And now all of those coming down here are available. So let's now just come inside here and say, I don't know, let's say products. And do, let's see. Use kind of some provide a link. So let's map through all of our products here, and let's just link to a product page with each of them.
Mhm.
Talk through all this products.title.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
sure if I did that right. Seems like we might have an link
Yeah,
is
that's
not
the
defined.
import link. Okay, what is it complaining about now?
All right, so nothing showed up. So why
Yeah.
didn't anything show up? Products should be coming down. Products.nodes. Let's do a console log here. Products. Come inside here. There they all are. They're all of our products.
Yeah, it needs a unique key, your link. Yeah, so the key should make it
Yeah.
happy. Yeah, that's happy.
I did products.title, not product.
Yeah,
That's the other issue.
good.
So let's come back here, and there they all are.
Oh, interesting.
And again, there's no styling in here at all. The hello world is intentionally meant to be very just unopinionated when it comes to styling. But if we wanted to, have all these block layout, let's just wrap them in a div. Now there they all are. So the thing is, this also I think can be a little tedious because a lot of maybe we could just this is all pretty vanilla stuff. So we actually offer, if we come back to our package JSON file, there is a alias inside here, this G. So if I do npm run G, and hit enter, there's a generate. So we can actually generate a lot of these routes for you. So like this overall route that we put together is pretty simple. And we have a lot of simple routes that are automatically available for you. So if we say generate a route, these are the different routes that we have available that we can automatically generate for you. So let's say we want to generate out a products page. So let's do generate, because right now at the moment, if we navigate to one of these, it doesn't exist. We don't have a route. The only route we have is this index page. So if we do generate route products, just hit enter. Then there's this new route that just got generated, products, product handle. And inside here is just that sort of vanilla page that's been defined for you. That's a very simple page. So we've got a product query that was generated out for you. We have a very basic UI with a header, and the description of the product that's put in here as well. And then above, we also have our loader that is making this query, passing in the product handle, which is the specific product that we're going to fetch for the product page. Some localization stuff, as well as automatically passed in some basic not found 404 handling. And all that's passed down. So if we run this, come inside here and refresh the page, there we are. Now, if we navigate to one of these, there it is. We are now rendering the specific
Nice.
product page for each one of those individually.
That's handy.
Yeah, and if we wanted to just generate out all the different sort of, because in general there's a certain minimum subset of routes that most e-commerce sites will have. So if we just want to generate out all of those routes,
okay, with the carts. Oh, okay, we have more.
Yeah, so we've generated out a robot text file for some basic SEO stuff, a sitemap, some basic account stuff, cart, a collections page, a pages page, a policies page, a products page, and then our index as well. So we'll start that whole thing up and see what it looks like. Here we are. Go to collections.
Okay.
This is specific freestyle collections, like a grouping of products. And from there, we can navigate to others.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I don't know. Any questions?
Yeah, so far everything does read good. So I see a lot of what Hydrogen does is more of course, like with the context, the storefront API is GraphQL based, so you sort of inject the query in there so you could get items or stuff from storefront API, right? And
yep.
Yes, then Remix help with all the structure and every other thing. So that makes a lot of sense. So do you think we want to look at the actual demo, like the storefront demo in the template?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's.
One thing I want to mention though, what you just said there though, like Hydrogen is more this like storefront specific stuff, and then Remix is all the other.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge value that we have too in moving to Remix. We've like doubled the size of our team. So now we have a ton of very, very good devs working on the framework level, whereas the Hydrogen team is more focused on abstractions around commerce specific stuff on top of the framework.
Perfect.
So let's so we actually have, if you go to hydrogen.shop, this is that demo store. So this is exactly that. We could generate it out from the CLI, just following the same process we did. But this is essentially it. There's just this whole page that's deployed automatically, latest. And so like this could be your starting point too. So do you want to go through that process?
Yeah, let's see what's inside under the hood and how it all connects.
Sure. Let's do so again, let's do npm create at Shopify/Hydrogen. And let's do a demo store instead of the hello world. And this time we'll do TypeScript. Why not? Just to show that this is also TypeScript capable. So we'll do tkyt demo instead.
Yes, classic. Yeah, it's initializing.
Yeah, we automatically, for the whole demo store too, we automatically initialize a Git repository. Mostly what's taking time here is...
Yeah, of course. Good old NPM.
Classic, right?
Yeah, always. So, how easy it is to deploy this to Oxygen, really? I guess there should be like a command for that.
Yeah, so that's... there's multiple ways that you can get this on Oxygen. Probably one of the easiest ways is actually from the Shopify admin. You can
Okay.
set up an entirely new Hydrogen site from the admin.
Okay.
So if you're inside your Shopify storefront, um, you can create uh, a new Hydrogen app entirely. And by doing so, you first can connect to a GitHub repository. And when you connect to a GitHub repository, it'll create a new Git repo, put the whole Hydrogen site in that Git repo, and
Mm-hmm.
also add the whole deploy configuration for Oxygen, so that now that GitHub repository with GitHub Actions will automatically stay up to date and deploy to Oxygen.
Awesome.
That's one way to do it, or you can use the CLI to directly deploy to it as well.
Cool.
So here we are. Let's do tkyt/demo. Let's start up another code.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. Run it just to make sure it's actually
Yeah.
working properly. Refresh this page.
Cool. Roll up thingy. What did we do?
What did I do wrong here? Cannot determine.
Are we in the okay? It did generate everything, right? Do not resolve entry point module index.html.
Yeah, let's look in here and make sure that it did. Routes. Looks like we might have an issue.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be an index.html file. Something seems incorrect at the moment with the current generation that I set up right now. It might be as well because I'm pulling from a local version of Hydrogen, so I might be getting the wrong version.
Okay.
But if we look inside here just to kind of show you what it looks like, what is generated out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Remix has multiple ways of doing file-based routing. This is one syntax of way of doing it. The previous way that I showed you, we were actually just creating directories and files a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at here essentially is the documentation explains it, but
yeah, I think so they'd be like it's an en slash, right?
Yeah, so this would be the index route right here. But there's optionally a localization prefix to the index route. So say, for example, you had like mywebsite.com/es, which is like Spanish. And so if you wanted optionally to have like localization as your root route, this allows you to do it.
Cool.
But anyway, if we come inside here, there's all sorts of other things that we're going to see inside here that Hydrogen gives you to help you out. Some of the stuff inside here is going to be, so we've got our loader. Notice there's internationalization properties automatically on the storefront object for language and country. Also inside here, so we're just querying some data right there. But also inside here, there is some SEO properties as well. There's SEO stuff built in with this. There's also some caching things that we help you out with, like just cache short, cache long. But like everything that you would want potentially in an actual real store is defined inside here, including account pages, editing accounts, a login page, a log out, all that. And if we come to here, this is essentially exactly what is getting rendered out. And by default, this as well as again is a little bit more opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be using Tailwind for CSS inside here. Some people like Tailwind, some people hate Tailwind. I don't know what your thoughts are on Tailwind.
I love Tailwind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it as well.
yeah, it's awesome. On the same page on that. I noticed this $.txs. What is it? The on the side?
What was that again? Sorry.
The $.csx.
Yes, the $.tsx. This is just a catch-all.
Oh,
So this is like a wildcard route. This is the remix syntax for that. So if
okay.
like nothing else is rendered, like none of these other pages are found, this is what will be rendered. And we just throw a not found error.
Mm-hmm.
And
No.
and then there's some special handling that Hydrogen will do when a not found is rendered, where before rendering the not found, we'll actually check to see if there's a redirect that exists inside the Shopify admin.
Yeah.
So if there is a redirect that exists, then we'll actually forward the user on with the redirect. If it doesn't exist, then we'll render a 404 page.
Nice. That's smart. I like it. So yeah, okay. Go ahead, please.
Maybe I'll just mention a few other. Let me show you a few other just things that also that we give you. So there's other components that we give you out of the box as well to make things a little bit easier. There's like a money component,
money component,
Shopify Analytics. Money component is essentially Shopify's API has a specific type signature that it returns for currency, because currency could be in many different localized formats.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to deal with like how to render a currency properly, you can just use this money component and pass in the type that is returned from the storefront API. So for example, this money component, the data that's passed into it is from the storefront API is just a price, which is an object of values inside of it. You don't need to worry about it. This will render it properly.
Nice. I like it.
And so there's a number of components that exist that I'll show you. If I look at the documentation. So these are some of the components that we give you to make things a little bit easier. So there's an image component, a video component, a media file, a money one, an SEO one, Shop Pay, and video.
Oh, that's good. So it's a lot of components that are going to make all the building of your storefront cool. I really like the money component because that's really thoughtful, because of course there are different formats that money can be in, so you don't have to worry about that. You just give it the price and it knows how to handle it and render it properly. That's super dope. I like it.
Yeah. And so and then if like you change the localizations, so like I don't know, you're toggling between Spanish or Mandarin Chinese or I don't know, English or whatever, the currency rendering can update as well based upon the localization and the value that's coming out of the storefront API.
Yeah, cool. That's amazing, Leah. Thank you.
So image is similar a little bit in that way. So like image also has like a specific data structure that is returned out of the storefront API. So like an image can have some alt text, a URL, a height, a width. So you can pass all that data to it, define the sizes that you want, and then it will automatically generate out the different image properties for those different view sizes and aspect ratio as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we've really covered quite a lot, right? Do you want to touch on any other thing before we wrap up?
I don't know. I think some of the things, I guess, maybe that's coming next for Hydrogen. There are some new abstractions and components that we're working on to make things even easier.
Yeah.
So for example, right now, cart, there's a lot of work you got to do to set up a cart yourself. So like this is generated out right now
Mhm.
um, inside the demo store. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff inside here to make a cart work properly. Like there's
Yeah.
discount codes, there is like buyer identity getting associated with the cart. There's just tons of stuff inside here. We're right in the middle of finishing up an abstraction that kind of wraps all this up inside a single set of components that you can just import from Hydrogen,
Mm.
and you don't have to deal with all this if you don't need to.
Nice.
So that's one thing that we're working on. And another big abstraction that we're going to be releasing probably within the next week or so is a pagination abstraction. So, for example, a lot of storefronts can have thousands of products. So,
Yeah.
like this particular demo store, we only have, I don't know, maybe like 15, 20 products here. But if you have thousands of them and you have like an all products page, people are scrolling through the products, getting pagination right is
Mhm.
actually tricky. And there's some particulars with Shopify that make it maybe extra tricky because paginating with the storefront API requires cursors. And like part of I think the trickiness to it is you click on a product, say you scroll down like to, I don't know, the 30th page, you're like on the 600th product and you're like, I like this one. You click on it, but then you decide that you don't like it and you go back.
Mm.
A lot of pagination implementations, you completely lose context to where you were at, wherever you scrolled to. So
Yes.
this sort of pagination abstraction that we're providing, we want to make all of that like seamless.
Mm.
We're maintaining scroll position and maintaining state across navigation works for you in an easy way. So
Mm.
those
That
are two
makes
big
sense.
things that we're working on right now is pagination and cart. And then there will be other abstractions that are going to be coming down the road that will make other parts of building a storefront easier as well.
Oh, thank you, Brett. Really, I really love what you all are building with Hydrogen because the thought that Shopify should know how to do commerce because you have been doing it for a long time, right? So, given the building blocks to developers that want their own custom UI or their custom, storefront is really good. And with all the components and everything you've showed, and with the foundation of Remix, is really a nice experience. Thank you for showing me.
Thank you for having me, and I like it. Excited to I don't know, see the future of the web as it moves forward. RSC, Remix, all these things.
Yeah, awesome. So, do you have anything you want to plug? As a guest and my teacher for the session, you could plug anything. So, yeah.
Oh, what am I going to plug? I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Take your
I
time.
maybe I'll just plug a high, not a product or like anything.
Mm.
Just plug the idea. Um, seems like the world today, people can be, um, um, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of anxiety in the world today, given everything going on
Mm.
internationally, and so just I'll plug the idea to be good to one another, and um, you know,
Mm.
I even the whole initial start of this discussion, I don't want to speak bad about other frameworks or other technology.
Yeah,
Like I feel like this offers some cool opportunity for some devs, but if it's not for you, um, it's
yeah,
not for you.
yeah.
Just
I
let's all one another.
Yeah, I love that mindset. I think you're the first guest that I've plugged an idea, and the whole concept of, you could leave and let everyone leave, and we all could have our opinions or build the way we want, right? At the end of the day, we don't have to everyone can do their stuff, but we can always still be friends at the end of the day. And yeah, I love that. Thank you, Brett. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if where can we reach you online? Like Twitter? Yeah.
I'm on Twitter at little_Brett.
Okay.
I am, yeah.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if I have any takes on Twitter that are worthwhile, but if you
Okay.
feel so inclined,
Yeah,
I'm on
sure.
there.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Thank you.